Welcome to our first ever panel discussion inside our Boise Kidlit Discord server. We'll see how this goes. We'll see if we do more of these in the future. My name is Rebecca Jackson. I am a writer here in the Boise area. I've been part of SCBWI for maybe 4 years now, and we thought it would be fun pulling together some of our experienced published authors. Let's start with a quick round of introductions. Jan, maybe I'll start with you since you're first to my right. Do you want to introduce yourself and a little bit about what you write and your book?
Sure. I'm Jan M. Flynn, and my book, Griffin Speaker. This is the ARC, the Advanced Reader Copy, because this comes out, hits the markets on May 5th of this year. It's the first in a middle grade fantasy series. Book 2 will come out in the following year, and we'll see if there is a book 3. So this is my debut novel to be published. I've written historical fiction. I've written two novels in that genre that did get me an agent, but didn't actually sell to editors yet. And then I decided to go ahead and write middle grade. I used to teach middle grade. Those years were when I became a passionate reader. I've always loved fantasy, and there were social issues that I wanted to address that I found difficult to address in today's publishing uh, environment as a sort of a white privileged cisgender female. So I thought, if I want to write about topics that touch on social injustice and even racism tangentially, I'm going to put it in a different world where, So that's what led to writing Griffin Speaker, and then it was just such a delight, and I was so fortunate to attract a wonderful publisher and a wonderful editor. So it's a long road, but it comes out May 5th.
Exciting. What an exciting journey. That's fantastic. Kimberly, let's go to you next. Tell us a little bit about what you write and your book.
Okay, I'm Kimberly Horch, and I write picture books and middle grade novel and verse. My first picture book just came out in September. This is Sawyer's Big Idea, and it's about a kid who doesn't finish what he starts and who just like hops from one project to next. And it very much is my autobiography, because that's just the way that I work. And so that came out with Imagination Press, who's the American Psychological Association. So that was its own fun thing. And I am agented, but I wasn't at the time that I sold that. And so that's kind of, yeah, it was kind of a fun adventure. It was the thing that convinced me, like, I really should probably find an agent, though. So yeah. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Yeah, definitely some good discussion, I think, for us to get into there about that experience. Devri, let's go to you next.
Okay, so my name's Devri Walls. I've published 8 books so far in a multitude of different ways. I write young adult pretty traditionally, young adult crossing over into adult. I loved what Jan said about using different worlds to tackle themes, because that's my favorite part about writing fantasy is everyone's walls are down and you can just put whatever you want in and say some really amazing, profound, powerful things that otherwise is tricky to say in today's publishing industry. So Jan, I love that. Thank you. I haven't published a book in like 5 years because I've been working a very strange project. So Transcendence should come out in the fall, I believe. The publication date keeps changing, but it's with a large investor company that's forming an entertainment company that needed new IP material. And so we're working on a very large series that I'm writing canon with the novels. And then there is comic books and screenwriters, and there's a whole multitude of things involved in this project. And so it's been a very new way of doing things and a lot of learning curves. And I've been working on this for about 3 years now. And I just got back from Rome, where they sent me to research for book 2 of this project, which was amazing. I'm exhausted, but I got back yesterday. So it's been a long journey, and I'm not currently agented. My whole publishing journey has been kind of atypical, I would say.
Wow. Yeah, what a dream though. Welcome back. So glad that you're making
Thank
time
you.
for this today on the heels of that and so much interesting stuff to dig into there. Before we get there, Pam, go ahead and introduce yourself and your book.
I'm Pamela Thompson, and I just got back from Tulsa, not Rome, but on Monday because the horse who wanted to fly won the um, gold for the Will Rogers Medallion Awards. So it's a Western awards ceremony that took place in Tulsa at the Hard Rock Cafe there. And I was very surprised because Paige Marie, who I was hoping to meet, and I got the chance to meet her. She has the number 11 horse book on Amazon and has lots and lots and lots of followers. And I was following her also. And so we got the chance to meet at that award ceremony. So that was very cool. The interesting story about the horse who wanted to fly was this is published by Firefly. I also do not have a publisher. I'm an agent rather, and the publisher originally rejected me. The story is about Edward Mybridge, and I sent him a query letter mentioning the word Mybridge, and they had published another book on it. That was why I had submitted it to them, and he did not do well in the first book that he did with that. But I also sent it to the sales department, who forwarded it to the editor, who forwarded it back to the publisher. And a few days after I got the rejection email, I got an acceptance email saying that I was hasty. I changed my mind. Your story resonated with me when I started my publishing company 40 years ago. No one believed in me, and I want to publish your story because it's about believing in yourself.
What a great example of perseverance. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Still no, and I don't have an agent.
Okay. Yeah.
So I went in the door.
Wonderful. Okay, so I have a series of questions that I've prepared for our fabulous panel of ladies here. But those of you in attendance, what I would love to do is incorporate your questions. So in the chat, feel free to start typing out questions that you have, like general for the whole panel or specific to individuals, and I'm going to pull from those and weave them in as I go through some of my questions that I had prepared. So, Pam, you just touched on, let's start with you for the first question and we'll go around the group. What led you to your publisher and what did that journey look like? So, you just touched on that, but I think you picked your publisher, you targeted them directly without an agent because they had published a nonfiction that had a relationship to some of the content in your book. Is that right?
That's right. What happened was we were at Half Price Books, and my husband found a book that was published by Firefly that was about Edward Mybridge. And so he said, "Hey, what about these guys? You don't have to explain who Mybridge is." And I said, "Okay." And so I looked at their website, which of course says no unsolicited manuscripts, blah, 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 right? Like the normal thing. But I am a person who doesn't really follow the rules very well. So I just said, well, okay, I'm going to find out how to get to them. And I looked on LinkedIn, found a publisher on LinkedIn and sent him a message. And then I also looked at their website and the sales, they always list their salespeople. So Brad Roberts was the person at Firefly who kind of championed the book and forwarded it on.
That's fabulous. That's great. Jen, how about you? What led, I mean, you're with Disney Hyperion, big, big name. Um, what was the path to getting a book deal with them?
just the most circuitous path, I think, until it became just direct. I had, like I said, I'm agented because I got an agent with a historical novel that I'd written, an adult novel, and that was, I sent it. I must have queried 100 agents and gotten rejected. Sometimes some of them were interested, and some of them requested pages. Some of them, one requested a revise and resubmit, and then ghosted me. I mean, it went on and on. Finally, I sent it to an agent who was located in Istanbul, and I thought, because it was about women in my extended family who had survived the Armenian genocide, and I thought, and which is still a taboo subject in Turkey. So I thought, well, this agent will either hate it or love it. And that agent loved it, but said, I can't represent it. My whole family would be in trouble. But I've sent it to my colleague in New York who handles a lot of our foreign rights. That agent decided to sign me. And luckily, that's my agent, Helen Adams, with Zimmerman Literary. And she's very tolerant of me bouncing around between genres. So she tried for over a year to sell that book, and then tried with another one, not as long. Meanwhile, I wrote this book, and that one was out on submission for maybe a couple of months. The first rejection was like, thanks for sending it, but we're up to our neck in cryptids, magical creatures. We don't need it. And I was like, oh crap, I wrote the wrong book. The next editor was my editor from Disney Hyperion, who has been just a dream come true. We negotiated that deal in August of 2023. That's how slowly this moves. And it comes out in 2026. So for, in a way, it was like for all the setbacks and all the day that we negotiated the book deal, I was on the phone with my agent in New York, who was also on the phone with the editor, and I was on a safari in Kenya, and it was my 20th wedding anniversary. And it was like, this can't be happening. This isn't real.
Unreal.
So it was unreal. It's still like one of those pinch myself moments. So, I guess you gotta kiss a lot of frogs before you get.
And be bold. I mean, the boldness, the sort of, not following the rules or taking a chance on someone in Istanbul who might really hate it, that wound up loving it, and that led to the path. And Kimberly, you mentioned, you sold your first book unagented, kind of really putting yourself out there, and tell us a little bit about that experience.
Okay, so I guess, I did the Critique-a-Palooza, the SCBWI Critique-a-Palooza 2 years ago, and I was just looking at it, and one of the editors that was there was Katie Tenhagen for Imagination Press, which is the American Psychological Association, and I was like, you know what, I've written this book, and it's SEL, which a lot of people are like, I don't know if everyone's taking that these days, and I thought, you know what, I really would love to get her feedback on it, as far as like, does she think that it's like, I don't know, like good psychology, because it's my experience, but like, is that, is it the kind of thing that she's gonna be like, you know what, this isn't something people want to talk about. And so I decided, like, I'm gonna do that critique with her. And she was like, you know what, like, I love this concept, but the ending just isn't right. And so she said that, and then kind of meanwhile, back at the ranch, I had done like a Twitter pitch party, and I had gotten a like from another kind of like, I don't know, like a mid-sized publisher, and they had liked the pitch, and then I got a rejection from them. And then right at the same time that I was hearing back from Katie, I had done another pitch party, and they had liked it again. And I was like, okay, so there's something going on here. Like, they like the pitch, they like the idea, but they didn't like the manuscript. And then Katie was saying the same thing, where like, I love this idea, but the ending's just not sitting right. And so between, like, from those two things, I kind of took and I rewrote the ending so that it felt, I just felt more like cathartic. And Rebecca was actually a big part of that. And so that it felt more finished. And then I submitted back, because of the Critique-a-Palooza, I was able to submit to Imagination, and I submitted back to this other publisher, and they actually both accepted it. And so then I had to work at within 2 weeks of each other. I had emails we want it and we want it, and I had to do this okay, how do I choose who's going to be better for it without an agent? And that was really I think I didn't sleep for 2 or 3 weeks as I'm am I making the right decision? But in the end, I went with Imagination and Katie Tenhagen because I felt I felt like she really understood the direction and what I wanted for the story. And also, I liked the idea of the American Psychological Association behind it so that people would know, this is good psychology. It's it's been reviewed. It runs through they run everything before they accept it. Because she told me, I'm interested, or we're interested. If you want to do it, then we'll run it past our panel of psychologists. Because we have to do that before we can give you an offer. And it passed that. And I was oh my gosh. So even just for me, it felt okay, this has some legitimacy. Anyway, so I ended up choosing them. And then it was just a few months later that I found my agent, just querying something different. So
That's fabulous. Why get the agent before the book deal? Get the book deal and then get the agent, right? I mean, there's no
right.
path.
Right. Well, and I had enough, I'd been querying agents, and then I had one just that, a few months before, and she kind of, she really said, she was interested, she had me send some more, and then I wait, and then she's you know what, you really seem like your work is a better fit for, small niche publishers, and so she didn't take me on, and I was you know what, if my work is a better fit for small publishers, I can do that.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what switched me for a little while into submitting publishers. But then I didn't like dealing with the contract stuff. So now I'm glad I have an agent.
Amen to that. And Devri, so round us out. I mean, you mentioned you have a really sort of unusual, kind of atypical path to publishing. Give us the Reader's Digest version of that. What has that been like?
Oh, when I'm on panels and people are tell us about your journey, I'm always are we sure? We could just skip me because it's not super helpful as far as a path to follow, but I think it is helpful with trusting yourself and learning to have faith in yourself. So I started out with a independent publisher that I met at a conference. We ended up accidentally at lunch together. I then self-published. I then met a hybrid publisher at another conference, and it was one of those things where I left the room and he chased me down and was what is your name, what do you write, I want to see your stuff. I hybrid published through them. Then they offered me more of a traditional contract for books 2 and 3 in my Venators series, and it was through that connection that actually got me this job that I have currently. And it's wild because there's really no other way I would be in the position that I'm in. This woman needed a writer, and the only connection point was this publishing company. And for 3 or 4 years, Tom kept telling her, you need Devri. This is Devri's project. This is Devri's book. Devri needs to write this book. And so 4 years later, we connected. She then had some major investors coming in. I still am a little flabbergasted looking at what I'm staring down the barrel of right now. It's very amazing and very overwhelming. But yeah, she had me audition with a couple of chapters, offered me the contract, which again didn't have an agent. So yeah, same thing, Kimberly. I hope this is okay. I did everything I could to make sure that I wasn't getting the super short end of the stick on this. But yeah, it's actually really wild because for years I was telling my traditionally authored friends, I was I want a team that's doing my marketing, and I want someone to pay for my travel, and I don't want all these things that I want, I don't want, and all of them are that's not a thing. And I'm I know, but that's what I want. And that is what I've landed in. It's just an incredible circle that has come back around in ways I couldn't have imagined. And yeah, now I'm writing this. It's a 7-book contract with a emerging entertainment company, and yeah, so pretty soon I think we'll be in meetings where I'm going to be working with the screenwriters and the comic book artists to make sure they stick with canon. And anyway, it's wild. And like I said, not very helpful because it's very, very, very atypical, but it's been quite a journey.
But an inspiring path. I mean, what an inspiring path for your journey to go that direction and turn you into like a writer on contract in this
Yeah.
universe that's being created. So
Yeah.
you touched on marketing and marketing budget, and that's actually one of the first questions that came in from our audience. So maybe let's chat a little bit with each of you about um, what your book promotion looks like. How much do you spend on marketing and how do you budget for that? So let's start with Jan. Marketing. How have you approached it for your book?
Well, I am lucky that my publisher does have a sales team that is going out to booksellers, and they are putting my book up for, awards and things to get it attention. In terms, do I know what my marketing budget is through the publisher? No, I have no idea. Um, and that's one of those. This is one of my first rodeo experiences. Like, I don't know what their budget is. But they have been very supportive. Have sort of taken it for granted that a lot of this is on me. For instance, making this poster and putting out bookmarks with a QR code to pre-order. We did that on our own. That was our idea. I did suggest to my publicity marketing team. There's like two people at Disney that are kind of wrangling me. And I always go through my editor for everything. But I said, what if we did my husband and I always do a road trip to California. What if we did one in the fall when school starts again and stopped at the bookstores where that we know are good. And they said, great, we will be happy to coordinate. When you let us know what the bookstores are, we'll be happy to, coordinate that. Same thing in a friend of mine, writer friend of mine said, oh, there's some great children's bookstores in Portland. One of them in particular even has a readers panel of middle grade, kids who review books. They not only want me to do an event there, but they said we'd like to book school tours for her. So the publicity folks at Disney are going to help coordinate with that once we get those dates. The dates are a little hinky for this year because the book doesn't come out until May, and I know the Portland district gets out in June. And having been in education, I know what those last couple of weeks of school are like. They're chaos. So that may not happen until fall either, which is fine with me. But I have gone out to Rediscovered Books. They're doing my launch party on May 9th. And thanks to Pam, I was introduced to the events manager at networking is a thing. We need to support it. At Tina at Barnes and Noble. So on May 16th, I'll be doing a reading and signing there. So those are things that I've done on my own initiative. I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I keep kind of going, well, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And they go, slow your roll, Jan. We'll get with you, about 3 months before launch date. And I've always heard it was at least 6 months. So I'm trying to do a few social media things. I really, really suck at social media, but I've done a few things. So that's what it is. But if I know, if you ask me what my marketing budget is, I have no idea. I know that I am comfortable that I'm going to spend some money on it, but it won't be, I'm not going to hire a publicist and spend $15,000 unless somebody convinces me that I just have to do that. I don't think you get that back.
Yeah, that makes sense. And especially with the power and the resources of a publisher behind you as well.
Yeah.
And being your debut, kind of following the steps and seeing how it goes. Um, Kimberly, what was your experience working with us, having a publisher, um, but on the more niche end of the spectrum? How did that process work for marketing?
Yeah, so they definitely have their distribution includes like psychologists, counselors, teach like that's a lot of their focus. And so in kind of looking at like that's where they're going to be focused, I thought, okay, I'm going to focus more on, the parents and the librarians and kind of the, that social media side. Although I have found a number of times that I'm like, hey, have you guys, tried this or like sent to this or this award? And they're always like, yes, we already did that. So it's kind of funny because they are like their marketing team really is on top of it. Some of the things that I've had a lot of success with, and has to do, I think, a little bit with just like my background and my personality. But doing school visits has been really big for me. And I did a lot of, like art in schools and that kind of thing. So that's really like second nature. But I have found that a lot of, when I go into the schools, a lot of people are like, oh, I hadn't heard about this. I feel like this, and kids really relate when it's the kids are approached directly. And so that has been really fun and really good for me.
Did you just
I have
your local school? Sorry to interrupt you, but did you just reach out like to your local school, or they were schools you had relationships with because your kids were there, or you knew someone in the office? How did you coordinate that?
I do have, I mean, just my kids are 8 to 14, so I have a lot of connections. I have a lot of girlfriends who are PTO presidents at various schools and that kind of thing. Or even just like, asking if, like, I do try to find somewhere where I have some kind of an in, asking a friend, like, hey, your kids go to this school, right? Like, do you know who the PTO person is? And could you send this email to them instead of me? And so that's been more helpful as far as getting in. I have done a couple cold calls, and so far I haven't gotten any of those deals because I know that. And my sister, who's a PTO president, is like, I get emails every week from authors, but the ones that come from connections, those are the ones that she pursues. So there you go. Um, and then I do have a co-marketing launch group, and this is something that I'm doing myself where I, via Twitter found 10 other authors and I said, I'm going to run this group and we're going to be, kind of a team. And I kind of laid out like 3 things that we're going to do for each other. And one is review each other's books, and then the others be a cheerleader for each other's books. So anytime you see someone saying like, hey, I'm looking for a book like this or whatever, you're going to recommend it and you're going to like say like, oh, and when it comes out, you're going to be like, oh my goodness. And it makes the book look bigger than it is, I guess. But also it just gets the word out there. And then the other being is, like responding to each other's social media posts and that kind of thing. And so we do, and that group has been really helpful. It really got my reviews rolling right away. And so that was helpful. Yeah, I guess if you have any other questions about that, I'm happy to answer because yeah. So I was the one who kind of put that together. So I do know a lot of the behind the scenes on that.
Yeah.
And then I also did a storytime sprint, which works if you're a picture book. And they're an organization that they bring in an author to present your book. And then the agreement for the people doing it is they get a chance to win if they leave reviews. And that was kind of the other big thing that got reviews rolling for me. So storytime sprint, if you're a picture book, is helpful.
Storytime Sprint. That's a great recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
And Pam, I think you've tell us about your kind of marketing approach and what you've done.
Well, it started about 3 months before the book came out. I started doing social media posts every day and have continued that for over a year now. My book came out September 1st, 2024, and I post on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I start with Instagram because it has an automatic feed to Facebook, and then I fill in with a few extra photos on Facebook and then do a separate post on Twitter. And I do that every morning, usually in the mornings. And I also have researched awards that the book might qualify for. And I wanted to tell you that don't eliminate yourself because the awards that I've received, they're all geared toward Western literature. And I thought in the past that Western literature meant cowboys and Indians. And it really is like stuff that takes place in the West. So west of the Mississippi is the category of all books that are considered Western lit. And I wanted to also point out a couple of things that other people have said about rewriting. The Scribby group has really helped me. My book originally was all in rhyme, and now it has a little bit of rhyme, but it's prose also. So thank you, all of you guys, for giving me all that feedback, because that was one thing that Kim was talking about. Doing the rewriting is really important, I think. And then Devri mentioned about meeting people at conferences. Um, Going to conferences, going to different writing events, being part of a writing group is essential, in my opinion. We both, my husband also is a writer, and we both went to the Will Rogers Medallion Awards last weekend, and he has written a book that might be of interest to one of the publishers who is at this award show. So you never know, as Devri was talking about, you never know where something might happen, and it's super important to make those connections. And I really appreciate the people in the Scribby group, especially you guys that are on this panel, because I've learned from all of you. So I wanted to just say that. And as far as marketing, I have a publicist that I'm working with at Firefly, so I will send her different, even if it's not for my book, if I find a words that she might not know about, I'll send her the information for it for one of her other authors. So just in general, but I will send her stuff that I think that the book might qualify for, or one of the other books that they have, of which they have many, many, many.
That's great. That's wonderful. And Devri, with such a varied set of experiences in publishing your books, what have you found in terms of marketing approaches and budgets, and have you noticed any commonalities of things that really work?
What works? What works? Um, I have done so many different things, and I think it depends on the type of book that you're selling at that moment, what your end goal is, where you're trying to get. I've absolutely done, when I did my self-published book, I did the Facebook ads and the targeted, and it worked. I made decent money for a few months while I was doing that, and then I hated my life and my job, and I was like, I can't. Like, I write fantasy novels. I don't want to pay attention to the Facebook algorithms every time they change. This is not a path that is viable for me as a person. Like, if self-publishing means that this is what I need to do, I don't want to do it. It doesn't matter if I'm good at it. It doesn't matter if I can handle it. Like, I don't want to do this. And so I switched gears there. I have friends that make six figures consistently and have for years as self-published authors who understand how to do this, how to Facebook market, how to scale their budgets to do that. And it's phenomenal. It can be done. I just hate it. So, when I switched to the hybrid, I started doing much closer to what Jan and Kimberly are talking about, where doing signings, connecting with bookstores, traveling to events, doing school visits, and that was a much better fit for my personality and for where I excel at. I think it's really important to understand what you're good at and how you present well. If you aren't a good public speaker, then doing school visits is probably not going to be a great fit for you, because what's going to happen is you're going to go in and the kids are going to be very, very bored, and then you don't get those recommendations, and those are important because you need the personal connections. You need people to say, oh yeah, so and so came in and she was fabulous. When I would go in and do a library visit or do a school visit, I would always ask, like, they're like, oh, that was great. Awesome. Do you have any other friends? Would you recommend me to anyone? Is there somewhere that you think I should go? And almost always they would say, like, yes, I have this. I have another librarian friend. They would love you. Like, let me email them. I also will say to make this is hard. So I had a really close connection with Rediscovered Books, which was lovely and integral in this process for me as well. And that relationship started because I just went in and I shopped at the store and I was nice to the employees and I talked to the people and I spent money in their store to say like, hey, I'm going to support you. I'm not asking for something from you. I try to tell people like up and coming writers and people that are looking like, take your time, develop those relationships, understand that they're trying to make money and have a business. And if you've got a good quality product that they think they can sell and you have been a wonderful person, they will stock your book. But I also met a lot of people through Laura. It was like she took me to a conference. I met a lot of booksellers who, because Laura vouched for me, yeah, they were like, okay, yeah, why don't you come and do an event at our store? So just be real and authentic and create connections and really try to highlight what you are very, very good at. If you write beautiful Instagram posts, don't do videos. Write the beautiful Instagram post. If you can be super real and authentic on videos, like tilt that way with your marketing so that people can connect with you. Okay, I just hit like 72 different topics, so I'm gonna stop and see where we want to go with that.
So that was great. No, that was wonderful. A round robin of experiences, and what I love about this panel is that I mean we're touching so many different corners and aspects of the publishing industry and your experiences, right? I mean it's so valuable to see the diversity. I can't believe that we only have 4 minutes left. If we're good with it, let's go just a little bit longer. I want to ask one more question that came in from the group, the audience, and that is about querying. So whether querying a for an agent or for those of you that queried publishers directly, one of the questions that came in was how many queries should you send out in a batch? So we're going to do speed round. I'm going to go around the horn and relatively quickly, Jan, what's your thought about batches and the right number in a batch?
Real quick, I would say don't go to your dream agents first, because once you get a no, that's going to stay a no. And I would say maybe send out 6 to 8 in a batch, but personalize every single one of them. That's where you spend your time. Don't just send them out like, dear agent, or make sure they're all personalized, and then see how that goes. And then you might have to change your query.
Yeah, do your research. Yes. Kimberly, batching. How did you handle batching?
I also did, I'd say, yeah, like about 6 at a time. And, because once you've got it ready, like it makes sense not to do just, 1 or 2, like do a number, but then also be watching for that feedback. And if you're getting nothing from anyone, then something should change. And like I did where I was starting to see patterns, like, okay, this isn't just one agent's opinion and I can't just brush it off. Like I'm seeing patterns here and I should make changes. So yeah, 6 is about what I did because it's kind of a balance between the two.
Yeah. Devri, how about you?
I have no experience in this area,
All
so we'll
right.
skip me.
Pass. Pam, over to you.
I think it's important to do the research and find the fit. That's one of the key things. I've been a freelance nonfiction writer since 1987 and have bylines in more than 150 publications. And it's always important to make sure that what you're writing fits the publication or vice versa. That's the super important thing. So to make sure that, if you're querying, in my case, if I was querying an agent, I would make sure that they represent picture books because that's what I'm writing and that's what I like to write anyway. And otherwise, if you write YA, make sure that the person represents YA and find out what titles do they represent and do they do, if you write fantasy, do they represent fantasy? Because different agents have different things that they like and they make it very obvious and it's easy you look at the manuscript wish list, or you look at the website, and the research is really easy nowadays. Now that you have the internet, you have no excuse.
Yeah.
So check out Publishers Weekly. Find out what's happening, what the trends are, things like that too.
Yeah.
But don't write to trends because it takes almost 2 years to come out.
Yeah. Or I was going to mention even Publishers Marketplace, which obviously costs money. There are day pass options, so it can be pretty inexpensive to get a day pass and do some research out there and see which agents are selling what kind of material. I was going to just add on to one thing that Jan mentioned, which is advice that I'm going to take to heart when I start querying my second manuscript here in a couple of months. And so one of the recommendations that I've learned is if you can find 6 to 8 query only agents that don't ask for pages up front, you can test your query and see if your query's working. If you get some of them to bite, as Kim mentioned, you start to see trends. If you know that they're biting and they're asking for pages, then you know your query's working and you can move on to agents that ask for a query with pages. If you start with folks that ask for both, you're not really sure, is your pitch not working or your opening pages like not resonating? So it helps you narrow down, what you might need to fine tune. Okay, so we're already at the end of our 45 minutes. I could go on talking with you ladies forever. I had like 7 other questions we didn't even have time to get to. This has been fabulous. Let's close. We're going to go around the horn. I'd like each of you to hold up your book again and remind us if it's available, if not, when it's coming out, and where folks can get a copy. So, Jan, over to you.
Griffin Speaker. It is available for pre-order now. You can go to my website, go to Penguin Random House, you can go to Amazon, you can go to Rediscover Books. I mean, it's available for pre-order everywhere. May 5th.
May 5th of 2026. Excellent.
Yes.
Kimberly.
All right, Sawyer's Big Idea, and it is out as of September. And same thing, you can get it. They stock it at Rediscovered, Amazon, Bookshop, just anywhere. Yeah.
Fabulous. Devri.
I have no arc. I have nothing. This is my series I wrote some time ago, Venators series. And that is available everywhere. But yeah, Transcendence should be out fall 2026, unless something changes again. So yeah, just come follow me over on Instagram, Devri Walls. It's just my name because my name is weird. So I just get it wherever I go.
Wonderful. And Pam.
I wanted to plug that Kimberly is doing a story time at Rediscovered Books on Saturday at 1 o'clock.
Awesome.
So you can get a signed copy of her book there. And you can also get a signed copy of my book at Barnes & Noble. I'm going to be doing a story time, not a story time, just a book signing at the new Meridian Barnes & Noble on November 22nd from 2 to 4. And you can also get this if you want an autographed copy at the Barnes & Noble in Boise right now. And it's also available on Amazon or at independent bookstores.
Fabulous.
Very cool, Pam.
Excellent. So one last note, and that is we hosted this inside of Discord for a reason. Zoom would have been more probably familiar to all of us, but Tana did all the work to put this Discord together for us. And in addition to being able to do live sessions like this, there are a bunch of channels on the left-hand side. And there's a picture book channel, there's a middle grade channel, there's a young adult channel. So what I would encourage all of you to do is if you have questions or you want to, something that one of our panelists said that was of interest to you, pop into one of the relevant channels and start a chat thread, maybe mention them so they know that you've asked Pam or Jan or Kim or Devri a question. But for example, Pam and Kimberly, what was it like working with illustrators? That was one of the questions that I had that, we didn't get to. And Jan, your book has this amazing map on the inside and interior illustrations and how did the art process enrich, your book? And Devri is somebody who's gone through this amazing journey and now you're in this space where there's going to be comic books, what does art and the art of the cover and how does that impact things? And more about agency, more about creating. There's so many different conversations that we can have. So if you have questions or an interest, don't forget that when I hang up the phone on this session, we have the Discord channel to carry on those interactions and continue the conversation. All right.
Yes, someone was asking when Kimberly's signing is. I think it's at 1 o'clock at Rediscovered Books, if I saw that
1
correctly.
o'clock on
1
Saturday
o'clock.
at Rediscovered.
Oh,
Yes.
so great.
I'll be there.
Wonderful.
Pam is the best person to have on your side. That's like actually my number one marketing secret. Have her and you'll know everything you need to do.
That's so great.
Pro tip. Fabulous. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. It's been such a wonderful conversation. I hope that we'll have an opportunity to do more of these in the future, and I can't wait to see all of your books out in the wild.
Likewise.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mona.
Bye.
Cheers to